officially representing the Queen. That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our lowest car insurance price online, guaranteed.
Wet and windy with scattered blustery showers throughout the country. Some of them will be heavy with a risk of hail or thunder, with sleet possible in the north of the country. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees, but warmer on the south coast. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you until 5 o'clock in the company of the former Republic of Ireland and Crystal Palace defender Damien Delaney and Daniel McDonnell, the Irish independent soccer correspondent, and Johnny Ward, broadcaster and writer, live in studio with us. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. 53106 for your text messages about the beautiful game. We're now streaming live as well. You can get in touch with us on the Off the Ball social channels, at Off the Ball on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on the Go Loud app. You can listen to us as well. Jose Mourinho, Damien, he's moaning already about a lack of strikers. He's got no strikers for the rest of time. 2-1 defeat to Chelsea today, and Chelsea looked like they deserved the win.
Yeah, look, I do feel for him. He was put into a tough job, and then it was made even tougher with the injuries that he's had. Look, I'm a big Jose fan, so I'm bound to say that. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of lads will disagree with me there and say that it's the same old Jose. But I think when you step back and take his personality out of it, which I know might be difficult, it's a tough job that he has there. You know, they played on Wednesday night and then the half 12 kick off today. So I'm not excusing him, but the deck does seem to be stacked a little bit against him.
The worry I had, lads, was watching the game. The Spurs didn't know what to do with the ball when they had it.
Yeah, I mean, I know Damien's a Jose fan. I'm probably not. And, but acknowledging that, there is definitely... I mean, when Pochettino was there, it was acknowledged that he needed players, so you can't just change your stance on that as such. Or, there's the delicate squad situation. Eriksen was always going to go, etc., etc. But I don't think Jose's... I think he's not the special one anymore. That, you would assume that someone coming in with his sort of gravitas and his reputation, that the bounce would have lasted for longer. And maybe he deserves a full summer and a full crack at it to sort of put his own personality on the team. But unfortunately, some of the displays now sort of fall in line with latter-day Manchester United as well too. There doesn't seem to be a massive amount of, I don't know, as a tactical invention or whatever it might be. Maybe it's too easy to say he's yesterday's man. That's just the type of thing that we say when there's a bright young thing coming along, and he's not that. He doesn't represent that anmore. But
it's hard to say.
I kind of wonder though. Yeah, and also as well. I mean, I just wonder. It does just the power of his personality, which used to count for so much. That was definitely a thing. You used to hear that players loved him. That was obviously always a thing. I just wonder if players really respond to some of the public Jose anymore, some of the comments, some of the complaints, whatever it might be. And I mean, of course he's going to get more time. He deserves more time, but I'd be pretty sceptical about him being there in, I don't know, say 18 months' time. I wouldn't be expecting that.
Well, Olivier Giroud scored today, and they could have signed him in the January window, and maybe they needed to plan for... I know Son has got injured, and that's very unfortunate for Spurs, Damien, but... Giroud and Alonso with the goals, and to me, even looking at the other night against Leipzig, they really didn't have any ideas. Now, maybe he just needs to be judged next season. Maybe we just need to write the season off for Spurs.
Yeah, look, first of all, I do completely agree with everything that Dan just said there. I mean, when you step back and you look at the broader picture, everything he said there is definitely correct. Even though I am a Jose fan, I'm a realist. But I think the situation that he's kind of found himself in now is what I was talking about when I say it has been a little bit difficult for him. And maybe he will reinvent the football club in the summer, but that remains to be seen. I'm not sure Giroud could possibly have went there. I know because he played for Arsenal, and I know he's gone to Chelsea and spent some time there, but I've no doubt that might have come in and been a factor in it. But I think Giroud's a fantastic player, and I could never understand why Arsenal got rid of him in the first place, and I could never understand why Frank Lampard refused to use him for the first half of the season, essentially. But it looks like that Tammy Abraham's kind of, I won't say he's at a brick wall, but he kind of slowed down a little bit, which was always going to happen, being a young player. So Giroud coming in is maybe the boost Chelsea need.
Big goal at St Mary's, Southampton and Villa. Alan Lewis.
Southampton 1, Aston Villa 0, and the home side have started brilliantly, and they've got the goal they've deserved from the opening exchanges. Gineppo latching onto a ball down the left-hand side, crossed it with his right foot, and there was Shane Long to turn it in with his left thigh. Southampton 1, Aston Villa 0.
This is great stuff, really, you know.
Left thigh. I love a bit of left thigh.
It's a good record against Villa, I think. Shane Long.
He is obviously, as has been said before, he's a streaky striker, and just going into next month now, his streak is pretty good by Shane Long standards. He's getting the odd goal, he's playing, and has to be very much in the picture.
He said it was killing him that McCarthy didn't.
In a rare interview.
Yeah. And
but the way with the Southampton website, I think.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't, and listen, that's just his prerogative. Like I'm sure in a couple of years,
like Bobby
time,
Brown,
speak,
Dan.
You know. Yeah, two can play that game as well. How many more references do we have?
But he's running out of time.
I think for Shane Long, it must have been like generally you would assume that any Irish striker in the Premier League, if they're not in the squad, like they're injured, not just to be left out. And like he was genuinely left out. Now, the story of Shane Long's recent Irish career is, I mean, he has been, I hate to hasten to use that, it's like a newspaper word, snubbed. Like he's been snubbed at various times in terms of being picked in the starting team. But that's one thing. To be left out of a squad completely is must have been a massive blow to him, and there's no other way you can look at it. And I think he must have played himself back into the squad, whether he played himself into the team. But at the moment, like he just seems to have these runs in his career where it's not even just about streaky goals, where he finds his groove under a manager. He even had that with Ronald Koeman at Southampton. Then Koeman left, and it just seems like that, you know, when he gets into a run, something changes to lose it. And I mean, the other thing as well, he is in the last year of his contract, and that all of a sudden makes everything very real. And I'm sure Damien's been in situations where, you know, you have a contract coming up, and all of a sudden you don't know where you're going to be, you know, in a couple of months' time. And Shane Long's had a very good career, earned very good money. It's not as if he's going to be in bother, but still, you know, you have to think about those things, those factors, and maybe it's just giving him a bit of a shove that maybe a player with 3 years left in his deal wouldn't have.
And Will Smallbone playing for Southampton today. Yeah,
with English-born Irish underage international, scored in the FA Cup for them recently, and, you know, was one of those that, you know, been phased into it through cup games. And then, I mean, it's a leap of faith to pick him in a big match today. He's always been well thought of. Probably not on the Irish radar as much because he had a long-term injury that he would have been involved with our, I think it was the under-19 team the year before last. But throughout, I suppose, the Kenny era of the 21s, he's pretty much been injured. He made his comeback, as I said, in October, November time.
You contrast that though as well with Mourinho and Parrott. Like Parrott just, I mean, as much as if Parrott isn't ready now, that doesn't mean he shouldn't be playing with a view to the future.
It's easier for Southampton though. It is easier for Southampton. But listen, the Parrott thing is, I don't want to talk about Parrott every single week.
If you're talking about writing off
the
season, that might be the only good thing for Parrott. I'm not sure if the season be written off, but like that's the one thing about.
I think it's bad for Parrott. Though.
It is, but
it's bad for Parrott now because this is the time Parrott should be involved in some capacity.
And it's what that does annoy me about Jose.
They'll have Son and Kane back, and he'll probably buy more players, and the Parrott have no chance.
But maybe, like, I would agree. I think the magic of Jose Mourinho is more or less gone. But like one thing that would grate with me is that the next game is obviously very important, but next year is important as well, and you have to be thinking down the line of the benefit of Parrott at least seeing some action. And what the way Jose speaks about him in the media to me is a little bit deflating. I think
he's just getting a bit annoyed by being asked all the time.
Yeah, but
I
hope that's not going to play him.
I hope that's not like triggering some kind of stubborn response. I mean, I would hope not.
Jamie Redknapp's comments were interesting, that he's hearing absolute rave reviews from within the club about him and all that, and he's not at all worried about Mourinho's attitude. But it would be definitely like, could you imagine if Parrott were at Southampton? He'd have definitely seen some action, and he'd be a part of a management team that actually does trust young players and give them a chance, because it's not really helping his development at the moment.
Well, here's a short clip of Jose Mourinho lamenting his injuries.
We have, at the moment, with the power that we have, or we don't have, with the situation that we live in this moment, which is almost unique, it's very difficult to do better, especially when the opponent scores before us.
Damien, just a quick one on VAR in the game. Lo Celso should have been sent off, and for a stamp on Azpilicueta, he wasn't. And Stockley Park, the people who are running the VAR system, have admitted they made a mistake. The referee, Mike Oliver, didn't even look at the monitor. It's pretty despairing for me. I don't know about you, are you more relaxed about it? But this thing is just... for anything to have work in life, it has to have credibility. This, to me, in the Premier League, in Europe, I think it has credibility. In the Premier League, it's got no credibility, VAR.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's it's going to take some ironing out. Do you know what I mean? Some fixing, because it's not great at the minute. But in time, I think it will be beneficial for the game, and it's almost in its trial phase at the minute.
Yes, guys. Are you relaxed about? I got mad about every time I hear about VAR.
So the whole discussion just drives me a bit crazy. I mean, clearly, like, it's gone beyond sort of, growing pains to just, accepting it's going to be a part of the game, I guess. I mean, they're not going to roll back on it completely. Like, I'm sick to death of every analysis of VAR.
Would you welcome
take it over shows?
Ireland?
But the thing about it is, well, you need power, John. First, you need TV screens.
No, but would you welcome it?
But genuinely, it wouldn't actually work because you don't have the technology.
Say if they did.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
100% wouldn't.
I mean, it's like the problem with the incidents today. And look, I didn't see the full game today. I'm only sort of picking up what's happened since. Is that at least there needs to be a consistency about how it's applied to some degree. And you have an incident today where the referee didn't basically choose to look at it, and that's not. I mean, that's a VAR issue, and I mean they admit they make a mistake, and that's good. And people are going to make mistakes as well. You're still, in certain like sending off instances, like the game hasn't changed really. You're still depending on the opinion of people. Like it's like the Harry Maguire one the other day as well. You still have that element of human error is possible with that element of VAR, and. Maybe like I don't know. Do you change certain aspects of how it's used? Do you limit it to, offside, instances and goal line technology which is there already, and with stuff like violent conduct or red cards or whatever, just leave that as before. That if the ref sees it, he does, and if he doesn't, you get a retrospective sort of punishment, for being done off the ball, whatever it might be. I don't know. The Celsa one seemed like it should have been a clear-cut one today. So, but I don't know. It's become too much a part of our debate. People talk about it's the biggest change, like in football, 25, 30 years, probably even since the back pass rule.
It's making it boring.
There came a time when people stopped talking about the back pass rule. They just got used to it. I don't think people are ever going to get used to this.
Did anyone give out about the back pass rule?
Well,
if you look at games from that era, but the thing about VAR, it is taking the joy.
Was football in an existential crisis before VAR? No.
No.
A couple of incidents in 30, 40 years. Maradona and Thierry Henry.
The Frank Lampard one in 2010. We had more than that. Like, they're the high profile ones.
The ones are really
high profile ones. But like, I know what you're saying. Like, they weren't ones that shook the core, the foundations of the game, John. But like,
should it just been that it's still the referee's decision is final? That he checks the monitor, he gets it in the ear, they give him advice, and then he decides.
But you know right well that if let's just say this won't happen, but let's just say that they get rid of it now. They get rid of VAR, and then you have a cup final decided by a goal from a player who's clearly onside. What's the debate? We're sitting here talking about why did they get rid of it? The one thing about VAR was at least it was sorting out most of the offside decisions. It was getting more right than wrong.
But to a ridiculous degree with geometry kits and like,
No, I know. But like, again, do you want to go back to a time where you have...
We're already driving ourselves mad in the studio.
Oh, no, it's... The minute you say the words, I'm like, oh, no, here we go. But like, you have to...
I have no doubt that
it affected the game today.
Overwhelming number of football fans would prefer, if the option of VAR as it is now or no VAR at all, would overwhelmingly would say no VAR at all, because it's just the joy of scoring a goal is kind of qualified right now.
Well, the Tottenham-Manchester City thing, I was on the floor after Aguero scored last year, and then I have to react, I have to come back up and oh, by the way, we're through. And the emotion was completely ruined.
The Leicester Wolves game the other day, that goal that was disallowed, I think is a great example of why it really is kind of ruining so many good situations. It was a really nice work goal. The offside was real technicality stuff. Really shouldn't come into it. And I've no issue with referees getting things wrong. Derry and Finn Harps last night, Derry were denied a stonewall penalty. Grand, it happens. Get on with it. Life goes on. I think it's taking the fun out of it.
53106.
Dan, I have a question there for Dan. Before, as a Premier League player, you were never allowed to talk about referees. It was just, you couldn't do it. So criticism, because referees made mistakes as well, a lot more mistakes than VAR made. So the problem now is you can criticise VAR all you want, and it's only managers and players and coach that if they lose a game, they can come out in the media and criticise VAR. I'm not saying that you should outlaw that, but I'm just saying, are we looking back on the refereeing decisions pre-VAR with a bit of rose-tinted glasses that, was much, much better? It wasn't. There was still an awful lot of wrong decisions. It was just that it wasn't highlighted because we weren't allowed to speak about it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Like, as I said, I think that there is... this happened for a reason. I don't think the VAR came just on board. I know you're saying about the high-profile Maradona, Henry, but there was obviously an ongoing debate that people felt that this needed to happen. And yeah, like I feel a bit conflicted. I was very pro VAR coming in. I was massively in favour. Partly because of the reasons Damien said, and also I've seen in other leagues like the MLS introduced it in other places. It didn't seem to have caused the same level of, I don't know, chaos or whatever it is now. And this comes down to the debate of the application of it. But yeah, I think that's the point. I mean, there was always a bit of a taboo subject for players to have a pop at referees. Also, I think, in tandem with that, there was also referees weren't able to speak about their decisions either. And it was almost all part of a thing. You don't talk about these decisions. And I know some people feel that maybe with VAR, one of the solutions is you have to have everyone mic'd up. So at least if there's an ongoing communication of what's happening and the process behind it, then that might be a better experience for people, that it's not sort of you can't really whisper about the elephant in the room here at all, that you actually come out. And that's why people admire maybe rugby and other sports, that there's actually you can listen to the full correspondence of how a decision has been reached, and does that make that easier for people? But I don't think you can go back. I think it's not going to go back now. People aren't just going to suddenly decide this is it, it's gone. Yeah. It's just a matter of, is there a better version of it? And that's the, I don't have the answer for that. I don't know what that better version is. I don't know, like Damien, do you have a solution in mind? Do you limit it to certain decisions? But that, to me, then, the minute your team is robbed because of something that used to be there that was taken away, that becomes the complaint then, So
but I'm a big believer that I'm a big believer that the referees should use the pitch-side monitors, because if a guy is sitting in a blacked-out room in Stockley Park, you can't feel the emotion of the game. You can't feel, what way the game is going, if the crowd are up, or, it's a sterile environment. And some people might say that's a good thing. But if the referees actually went over to the side of the pitch, it would probably be done quicker, and the referee would have a better feel for the game and the mood of the game as well. So decisions aren't like just, that's right, that's wrong. Referees can make in-game decisions. I think that would be much, much better. I'm not sure what Stockley Park brings to the table. I don't understand why referees can't just run over more often for big decisions.
Well, Stockley Park, for me, was this kind of 2001 Space Odyssey orb that is faceless, and it's a bureaucratic...
they did that in the NBA.
Robotic thing where I thought, well, Stockley Park said it, and that means it's right. Stockley Park, they've admitted today, they got it wrong. They've admitted they're humans.
Yeah.
This is a 4.8 billion business, the Premier League, and they can't get VAR right. There's a text in here on 53106. VAR, it isn't the decisions per se, it's how the rules are applied. Perhaps the rules need to be amended to tie in with the technology. By the way, the Maguire incident wasn't necessarily a red card. Wasn't there a reasonable doubt? That's from John. 53106 for your views, folks.
Referees are very important in football, and very few people have actually thought about the referees here. This has taken the enjoyment out of refereeing a game big time, because they're becoming more just like, they're just kind of ticking boxes here. They're yes or no, but their actual human input into it is kind of gone now, because they're subservient to the technology. And that's something that needs to be talked about as well. Like, referees are an important part of the game, and for them now it's like basically VAR is the overlord.
They should still have the final call. They should be advised. They should be checking the monitor. They should get advice in their ear, and they should still make the final call and then be judged on their performances. That might be the best way of doing it.
I don't think you can change I know they're talking about amending the rules, but the problem is 99.9% of the football matches in the world now take place without VAR still. At a lot of levels. I mean, you're talking about the elite level, and you have one set of rules.
What about Arsene Wenger then, changing the offside rule?
Well, I understand why that debate happens, but like in places where there isn't VAR in place, I just think that becomes you're going down a rabbit hole there,
Damien?
In my last year at Crystal Palace, I think it was 2017 or 2018, VAR was trialled for the first time in English football in a game that I played in. It was Brighton away in the FA Cup. And I think it was it was actually my last game in English football. That game finished me off. It was that bad that night, but I was 36 or 37, whatever it was at the time. But I remember the referees coming in the week of the game and speaking to us to say how it's going to affect the game, what to expect, and basically how the night was going to go. And after the meeting, the referee had I can't remember his name now, from the PGMOL or whatever his name. I said to him afterwards, I said, is there a danger of referees almost absolving themselves of decision making and letting Stockley Park make the decisions for the referees? So if it comes a really, really big decision, that he'll just not make it, and if it's wrong, it'll get corrected, so he doesn't get the criticism then. And maybe that's something that's tending to happen at the minute now. Referees aren't making decisions, especially in the big games, because they want Stockley Park to make decisions for them.
Well, this is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk 53106. Do you want to get involved in this debate about VAR? Should there be only 23 letters in the alphabet? Should they get rid of V, A and R? We need to take an ad break. Back in a moment.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
There's a new place to buy a Peugeot commercial in Dublin, Sandyford Motor Centre, your South Dublin Peugeot Commercial Centre. The Irish Van of the Year 2020 Peugeot partner, the Peugeot Expert and Boxer are all available with up to €4,000 scrappage and low-rate finance. Visit sandyfordmotorcentre.com.
La mer. Summer in France is calling. Sail in style direct from Dublin to France on Irish Ferries WB Yates, the newest, most modern ship sailing our seas. Take the family, take the car, take as much luggage as you like and start your holiday in the most relaxing way possible. Sailing to France has never been easier or more enjoyable. Book now at a deposit of just €100 at irishferries.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Connor, what on earth are you wearing?
You mean the ballet tights?
Yes, I mean the ballet tights.
Well, if that fella in the avant-garde ad can go all Swan Lake in the street, why can't I?
Whatever you want to do, an Avantcard credit card makes doing it far easier. Apply today at avantcard.ie. Avantcard. You do you, we do credit.
Brenda, I want to express myself.
I'll express myself now if you go out looking like that. Lending criteria, terms, conditions apply. Avantcard DAC, trading as Avantcard, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Start your morning with the big 2020 save from Lidl, with savings in-store and recipes online to really kick off your day. Why not try our tasty banana pancakes? They're gluten-free, thanks to our gluten-free porridge oats, only $2.59. And our fair trade bananas were $1.59, just 89 cents from Thursday. And don't forget, we check out our competitors' prices weekly, so when you check out, you always get better value. The big 2020 save from Lidl. More for you.
Come get carried away with life at Corteo by Cirque du Soleil. An extravagant spectacle featuring astonishing acrobatics. 3 Arena Dublin from the 8th of July. Due to phenomenal demand, an extra week added from July 14th. Cirque du Soleil. Magnifico. Tickets from $45.20 on sale now. Additional charges may apply. Corteo thanks their official partners, Skoda Auto and Air Canada.
House.
Digs.
Gaff. Pad.
Home.
However you say it, we all deserve a place to call home. I'm Jill from Harvey Norman Rathfarnham. With our customer support since 2018, we've raised over €350,000 for Peter McVerry Trust. This February, we're fundraising to reach an overall total of €450,000. All money raised will help those experiencing homelessness. Attend our fundraising events in-store or go to harveynorman.ie and help us reach our goal.
No! You can't manage at home anymore. It's time you move somewhere safe.
I'll talk to the doctor for you from now on.
It's your wishes that matter, not theirs. Make your wishes known about where you would like to be cared for and your healthcare preferences. Plan ahead. Turn your wishes into plans. Talk with someone you trust and document your decisions. And safeguard yourself from abuse. Safeguardingireland.org. Promoting the rights of vulnerable adults.
Tenerte como socio sería fantástico para nuestro equipo.
Tim has now been video calling on his mobile with his potential new business partners in Madrid for 45 minutes and 37 seconds. Luckily, time on his phone isn't a concern for Tim. With 3's €20 SIM-only business plan, he gets all calls, all texts, and all you can eat data. So he can just keep nodding while he Google translates what on earth they're saying. Switch today at your local 3 store or visit 3.ie/business. 3. Make it count. €20 a month for the first 6 months, €30 a month thereafter. 30-day minimum term. Fair usage allowance applies to data used in the EU. See 3.ie.
This is Peter Fergus. He's got the right kind of energy for business.
I'm hotel manager of the Lodge at Ashford Castle here in County Mayo. It's a demanding role, but I love it.
Peter knows what it takes to make the business a success.
We aim to deliver a premium experience for our guests with minimal impact on the environment.
And he has a vision for the future.
Our business is powered by 100% green electricity supplied by SSE Airtricity, so our guests can sleep even sounder.
Switch to the right kind of energy for business today at sseairtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green.
Applying for a Trinity postgraduate programme in creative thinking, innovation and entrepreneurship was a great decision. In just 20 weeks, I had a level 9 qualification from Trinity College Dublin. And it's free, or up to 90% funded if you're in receipt of social welfare, a returner to the workplace or in employment. The course starts in March, so apply online now. Search Trinity on springboardcourses.ie.
Springboard Plus is co-funded by the Government of Ireland and the European Social Fund and part of the ESF Programme for Employability, Inclusion and Learning 2014 to 2020.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock. We got a goal in the match between Sheffield United and Brighton. Shane Pennington.
Brighton won. Brighton behind for just 4 minutes here, and they've got themselves back on level terms courtesy of Neil Maupay. He came back into the starting lineup this afternoon, and he's just flicked a goal in from 6 yards out. It came from an Aaron Moy free kick into the area. Dunk headed the ball on, and Maupay beat Dean Henderson to the ball from close range. It's Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1.
Now, Bennett Stevens scored the opener there for the Blades. We'll come to that in a second. 53106 text on VAR. VAR should only come into play on a challenge basis like American football. Enough of constant checks and stops of play. Manage your challenges, and that's it.
I'm not sure about the challenging situation in that how it would work, and would they be influenced by, say, the crowd or by somebody above who says, oh no, you have to challenge that. I've just put up a poll on my Twitter feed there. Would you like it in the LOI, yes or no? 80% no.
And Johnny, what is your Twitter handle?
Wee Manya.
Wee Manya.
It's an old kingdom in my part of the world, but 80% no. And somebody,
Johnny Ward was obviously taken.
Kieran, the Longford Town fan, replied and he said, imagine the Duffy goal in the cup final last year, which could hypothetically be ruled out for VAR because there was a questionable potential foul in the run-up, and that's kind of a good point. It's like, I don't really care about the foul or was it not a foul. I prefer to look at the goal. So I'm not surprised at that result.
Challenges isn't the worst idea in the world, but what you would have in the injury, and again, like in the injury time of every game, you would just have people challenging everything. It'd just be the last 10 minutes. Last 10 minutes take around 25 minutes.
Well, there are texts on 53106 here. Lads, as the old saying goes, be careful what you wish for. How true that turned out to be with VAR from a dismayed Alan.
I think one more point, John, though. Controversial decisions are part of the allure of the whole thing.
Life should be grey. Life should be grey. It should be black and white.
That's what, like the Roy Keane thing in Saipan, that split the country. Decisions like that. Do you remember that?
Well, that's not really VAR wouldn't have solved that, John.
But decisions in football games will split. Darragh Leahy's.
Let's go back to the piano room and see what did he really say.
Darragh Leahy's foul in the cup semi-final against Cork City was literally a 50-50 split in terms of people like watching the game. Was it a foul? Was it not? That's part of the allure. It's not necessary that everything is perfect in terms of decisions.
And it's not today because Stockley Park have admitted they got it wrong. No, you're all wrong, and the solution is to get rid of all technology and even assistant refs. All rules law should have this caveat in the referee's subjective opinion, so there can be no argument. Everyone just has to accept that the ref made a call and that's it.
Is that person getting rid of assistant refs?
Getting rid of everything.
That's more of a Stalinist purge that person's advocating.
These are texts on 53106. I assume offside allows benefit of the doubt in non-VAR situations still. It's VAR that's different to taking away benefit of the doubt. In my view, VAR is losing its goals, so should offside not be part of end of the body that keeps a player onside, thereby keeping in line with the spirit of the established benefit of the doubt to the attacker principle. That is from John. I don't know. All I know is there's been some horse racing today.
Yeah, isn't it boring that we're still talking about this?
Damien, are you bored?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's no answer to this, to be honest. It's very, very difficult. I just think we're on the right road, but we're early stages of it, and it just needs to be ironed out. And I think it will be by the start of next season.
Okay, Italy leading, Scotland leading Italy rather. So it's Italy 0, Scotland 10 in the Six Nations in Rome. Stuart Hogg got the first try. Fairyhouse burning victory 7-1, winning the 2:17, the Silly Times. William Danny Mullins, the Grade 3 juvenile hurdle there. Kempton, 3 big races there today. The Pendle Novices Chase at 1:15. Who Dares wins at 10-1, winning that one. The Adonis juvenile hurdle at 1:50. Solo, the 6-4 favourite, winning that. And the 2:25, the Grade 2 Kingwell hurdle, Brian McMahon told you this on Friday Night Racing yesterday. To back Song for Someone, he has obliged the 11-8 favourites. You should listen to News Talk. We give you winners here.
Can I interject
that actually as well? I don't know if the Song for Someone. I'd say those who watched Friday Night Racing were cursing Friday Night Racing until the last 50 yards when out of nowhere Song for Someone found a second wind. And
I should first of all thank you for standing in yesterday, John, but was that given as the nap of the week?
No, I gave Glittering Love in the Eider. I don't know if it's rugby.
The race is off. As in, the meeting was abandoned.
So I actually did win. I didn't lose. So I didn't win.
Lost nothing.
So my record is 100%.
That's an excellent return.
Well, don't listen to my golf tips on virtual insanity. Damien, Atletico Madrid, would you be worried if you're a Liverpool fan about the Liverpool chances in the second leg? Damien?
He's gone.
Damien was so bored he's actually just disappeared. The Atletico-Liverpool game is going to be absolutely fascinating. It's a perfect result for the neutrals. The 1-0. Atletico fluked a goal essentially in the first couple of minutes from a corner. It wasn't particularly well defended, but it was more or less a fluke. But if ever there were a team that was built for defending a 1-0 lead against Liverpool, it's that Simeone-led Atletico team. I thought Liverpool, as much as they owned the ball, I didn't think they played all that well. I thought
didn't have any shots on goal.
They missed two good chances in the second half. Salah, in fairness, absolutely screwed up royally in the first half with a desperate touch. I think again Salah's had a pretty poor game in a big game. The taking off of Mane in the first half, to me, that was a big gamble. I know that they were targeting him.
He was on a yellow.
He was on a yellow. I agree they were targeting him, but at the same time, as much as Origi isn't a bad player, Mane is a massive threat. And 1-0 is a dicey situation for Liverpool, because I think Atletico will have a chance or two. I mean, Costa presumably will be a little bit fitter the next day. To be relying on Morata at this stage is extraordinary, because if Atletico had a bit more about them up front, they could have won that game. They could have scored a second goal. I mean, Morata missed an absolute sitter, but again, I will point out, Liverpool, their away record in Europe is poor, and they put themselves under pressure, and I think it's going to be the game of the ages at Anfield in the second leg.
Gary Breen, Damien, was speaking on Off the Ball this week about Atletico Madrid's defence. It was a sight to behold. Do Liverpool have things to worry about now in that second leg?
I definitely would be worried if I was a Liverpool fan. I think Atletico now have the bit between their teeth, and they seem to have gotten under Liverpool's skin. And they'll definitely go to Anfield very, very, very confident of defending the way they did. And what Johnny said there too, with Costa back, he'll have a couple of more games under his belt between now and then. And he's the ideal player to play in their system for breakaways, and he can occupy the two centre-backs and make their lives very, very difficult.
Henderson being out as well, he's out for I think 3 weeks.
3 weeks hamstring. Is that a worry?
Yeah. Well, it is really, because as much as, I saw during the week, I think it was Graham Souness was saying he's the modern day Roy Keane. I think it's absolutely preposterous to prepare.
But they coped with that Fabinho for long enough this season.
They did, but Henderson, he's not Roy Keane, and he never will be Roy Keane. But at the same time,
so they should be fine then, shouldn't they?
But he's a vital cog in that operation, and it's not ideal. But they need more from Mo Salah in big games. They need more. He again, to me, he was disappointing. He really should have done much better on that chance. He totally had a heavy touch and put Firmino offside, and I think he needs to have a good game in Anfield.
Liverpool fans, 53106. What do you think, Damien? Gary Breen was almost, really drooling over the defending from Atletico. Talk about the great defenders of our time: Baresi, Tony Adams. Who was your hero? Who are your heroes as defenders? As for technique wise, or do you have any idols growing up?
I was actually very fan of flamboyant players growing up. I wasn't really big on centre halves. My hero growing up was Faustino Asprilla at Newcastle in the mid-90s.
The Colombian.
So how I ended up being a centre-back, I'm not really sure. But they're the guys I used to watch. But just to take up the Henderson point there, I think it might be a blessing in disguise, or it could be a blessing in disguise for Liverpool, because that midfield three that they have is very workmanlike, very diligent, very, very structured and rigid. And I think Atletico find it very easy to defend against that midfield three, because there's nothing unexpected. When he brought Oxlade-Chamberlain on late in the game for Henderson, Oxlade-Chamberlain is the type of player that can take the ball in traffic in the middle of the pitch and travel with the ball in traffic in the middle of the pitch. And that's what you need to do to try that. But that will certainly help break down Atletico. So while Henderson is a fantastic player, Liverpool's style seems to be stifled by Atletico, because they don't really want to attack Liverpool all that much until they have really good possession. So we do think that Oxlade-Chamberlain, Fabinho and Wijnaldum might be a better trio to help break down that Atletico midfield.
Just go through the scores in the Premier League today. Chelsea beaten Tottenham by 2-1 earlier on. Marcus Alonso and Olivier Giroud with the goals for the pensioners, who've now a little bit of a gap between 4th and 5th. Burnley 0, Bournemouth 0, that's the latest score. Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle 0 in the first half. Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1, Enda Stevens scoring for the Blades. And a goal as well for Shane Long for Southampton against Aston Villa, 1-0 to the Saints at St Mary's. It's a half-5 start for Leicester's game against Manchester City. In the Championship, a full-time Brentford 2, Blackburn Rovers 2. Latest scores, Barnsley 0, Middlesbrough 0. Birmingham City 2, Sheffield Wednesday 2, Bristol City 0, West Bromwich Albion, the leaders 2. It's Charlton 1, Luton 1, Leeds 0, Reading 0, Nottingham Forest 0, QPR 0, Preston North End 0, Hull City 0, Stoke City 1, Cardiff City 0, Swansea City 1, Huddersfield Town 0, and Wigan Athletic 0, Millwall 0. Celtic playing tomorrow.
I should mention Callum Robinson has scored for West Brom, so that's been a good loan move for him.
As well as that, Dan, Darrell O'Shea playing again. I mean, Darrell O'Shea, he seems to be starting right back, but Robinson, that loan move has worked out hugely for him. I know we have defensive injury worries ahead of the game, and Darrell O'Shea is not going to be there, but for the long-term future, I think the game time he's getting for the team, the best team in the Championship at the moment, and his just career seems to be going up and up and up.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. He's under long-term contract as well. So
Kieran Clark injured today for Newcastle.
Yeah, no, he picked up an injury last week, so he's a bit of a concern. But yeah, the Robinson one is probably significant because James McLean obviously there's a bit of a doubt surrounding him, although I know...
How do you think that'll work if McLean isn't playing? Because I was having this debate with Shane last week. I've no idea what they're going to do. If McLean isn't playing, would they play Horan on the left?
No, probably I'd say they'll... No,
Robinson on the left?
I'd say Robinson would be the favourite at the moment. Robbie Brady hasn't played. It'll be an experienced enough player. Aaron Connolly, has sort of... I'm not going to say he's stagnated, but it's his first season as a Premier League player, so he's not playing as much, and he would probably see himself as a central player, although Stephen Kenny has used him on the left side of a 3. Robinson hasn't necessarily taken his chance when picked by Ireland, but I think the point will be made that he's more at home on the left and he gets the chance. The other one is Shawnee Maguire, who probably hasn't been scoring. He definitely hasn't been scoring for Preston, but has actually played a lot of time on the left and did okay against New Zealand in November. They'd be the contenders, but I'd say Robinson on form is in a pretty good position.
5-3-1-0-6. What Liverpool need in the Atletico game is a strong referee. We saw in the Napoli home game earlier this year that a weak referee really stymied Liverpool against a team that plays the ref. Are you Liverpool fans worried about this Atletico second leg? Because we know you're going to win the Premier League. You're already planning your trip to Anfield in around March, April, and spending those thousands and thousands of bucks on the Liverpool home game.
The interesting thing about that is Atletico were trying to get the referee, were trying to influence the referee, and Robertson straight after the game was making reference to Anfield, and already the Atletico chief has had a pop at the facilities in Anfield, all that, but Anfield will be absolutely rocking for this game. They couldn't have set it up more to rile up the Liverpool crowd, and if there's ever going to be a hometown decision, the referee is definitely going to be influenced by the crowd because they're going to be on his back big time, and Atletico are going to be hounded like they rarely are in La Liga. The Liverpool fans are really going to take them on and target what they would perceive to be a little bit of an injustice of basically Atletico trying to get Manny sent off.
But if there's a contentious decision, they can always go to VAR.
They can.
That can level off the hometown.
VAR is great.
Tino Asprilla, did you have a hero?
Mine would have been Paul McGrath when I was younger, and probably briefly Robbie Fowler when I was a Liverpool fan.
I was Dennis Irwin. I thought Dennis Irwin was class. Now, having a full back, it says a lot, but I just thought Dennis Irwin was absolutely
free kicks.
Asprilla is more of an enigmatic type. I mean, is that an insight?
It John Caulfield signing now.
It's an insight to Damien's character in some way, like the sort of unpredictability of Asprilla.
Well, mine was Glenn Hoddle, and I was given his autograph on a napkin, and I lost the napkin.
Oh no.
But it didn't really feel like...
Were you given it by Glenn Hoddle himself?
No, I was given it by an intermediary, my brother-in-law, so it didn't really feel like a real autograph. It wasn't authentic, so losing the napkin wasn't devastating. I also put Panini stickers or mirror stickers on the napkin, so it looked a bit strange. So...
had he used the napkin himself, or was it just...
No, it was more of a serviette. Well. There was a difference between it, I suppose, a napkin and a serviette.
Well, what is that difference, John?
Well, like a napkin sounds... a napkin is more... like it's bigger, and you have it more like in your lap, where serviette is more that kind of thing they give you. Like,
is this one of these Seinfeld kind of dilemmas as to whether you can blow your nose in it or not?
Larry David here.
Yeah. I think if there are people with a bit of sway out there, can somebody please get John a modern day Glenn Hoddle autograph,
or a napkin or a serviette?
I met him preferably on a napkin.
I met him. I was in the lift with him at the World Cup, but
Glenn, I'm glad I met you.
Were you reaching around your pocket like, oh no, so I'm only got a serviette on me?
Well, no, I'm prepared. When you're working professionally, professionally, you don't want to be a fan.
No, you
like,
can't be
a
that person.
cheerleader.
Completely agree.
And Arsene Wenger as well got into the lift too. Like, it's like, I remember there was...
Same lift?
No, not the same lift, a different lift. Many lifts. There was ABBA the movie, or one of the movies about ABBA, that this guy's chased them for an interview for like years, and then eventually he just ends up walking into the lift and they're ABBA in the lift. But Wenger looked fantastic. He's about 69, 70 years of age. He looked brilliant. Such great shape. But Tino Spree is a good choice from Damien. There is a goal, by the way. This is football Saturday on Off the Ball. Palace against Newcastle. Andrew Cheel.
Palace 1, Newcastle 0. Palace finally getting the win, the goal they deserved. It comes from fullback Patrick van Aanholt from a free kick, beautifully struck with his left foot, curling round the wall and into the far corner. Goalkeeper Dubravka, having made 2 brilliant saves earlier, no chance with this one. Palace 1, Newcastle 0.
53106 for your text. Absolute rubbish. Liverpool moaning about referee in first leg. What decisions did he get wrong? It's classic Johnny Foreigner nonsense by Pool fans. That's from John.
It's not so much that he got an awful lot of decisions wrong, but it was the fact that they were trying to influence him, and the fact that he felt compelled to take Manny off in the first half was quite extraordinary. Like, he's arguably their most effective of the 3 forwards, and Origi didn't have a great game when he came on. So I think Klopp could actually learn to. He could regret that, because I think as Liverpool have had an amazing season, even if they get knocked out in the Champions League. Now they won it last year. They're record-breaking Premier League winners or whatever. But it would seem a little bit unfinished business if they got knocked out by an inferior team in Atletico.
Haaland was amazing, Damien, the other night. I'm looking at 20 million of business for Haaland going to Borussia Dortmund. It's pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's probably seen that clip that's been online with him on that breakaway, and he covered 18-yard box.
No.
I feel like Damien's getting further and further away every time we go to him. It's like,
okay.
He's on a ship of some description.
In terms of money spent, though, like when I saw him literally play Haaland. I saw him play once for what was maybe half an hour against Liverpool this season when he was with Red Bull, and it was very obvious that he had something special. But like, to take 20 million in terms of a punt for a player that young was an extraordinary bit of business. But what was most remarkable the other night was his pace. It was absolutely frightening pace. I maybe Kylian Mbappe is the only one I could compare in terms of speed like that, but it's hard not to get blown away by excitement about him.
11 goals in 450 minutes of football for Dortmund. There's a great article in The Athletic about how he was kind of, enticed to join Dortmund, the kind of charm offensive that happened. He liked the kind of the culture of the club, and then they're going to have these packed stadiums every week. The guy in Puma was a Norwegian. There was a link there. And with Thomas Delaney on WhatsApp to him, all this kind of stuff. And obviously they've got progression of other players like Pulisic, Aubameyang, Gundogan. And it's a really good bit of business, because he could have gone to United. It's funny, he's got Mino Raiola as his agent. He's not the most popular person in some parts, but the sky's the limit for a guy born in Leeds. England will probably want to have him now.
Oh, they'll make some play. Doesn't he want to go and win a title with Leeds or something? Or that's one of his ambitions. I mean, maybe he's the boy. He can't have everything that he wants. But yeah, I mean, I suppose he's in an advertisement in a way for not going for too much too soon. I think it's important for those guys who are really exciting, who was on a roll, just to keep playing. And I'm not saying he wouldn't have played at Manchester United, but I think getting into that environment could have been stunting for him. Whereas now he goes somewhere where he remains the top dog and he just keeps on growing and growing. So I think it's a hell of a story. It's a hell of a story with the. We're always going to be interested in him because of his dad, and his unique part in Irish football history, Alfie Haaland. So the son's definitely one where he's slightly better than the father anyway. Slightly better, yeah.
I think he's a lot more than slightly, to be fair.
53106 for your text messages. Right. Hold on, Liverpool have lost every time they've played a decent team this year. Don't many defeats.
Just on that, they played Napoli and Atletico, but I don't know what is about the Premier League that they've been, basically been untouched. But in Europe, they haven't been impressive.
If Dundalk did what Liverpool are doing in the league, we would be having concerned conversations about what this says about the league. All the big teams in the Premier League are in crisis, bar Liverpool.
Actually, I make that point about the League of Ireland all the time. I think that the dominance of the teams at the top and inequality is a massive issue. You wouldn't expect it to happen in the most moneyed league in the world, but I guess it does. It happens at extreme levels. Although, I think, to be fair, there's a couple of other teams that could be. It's not as if Liverpool have bought their way into their position. They've been smart about what they've done. But it isn't a vintage year. I don't think you could say it's like an incredibly strong Premier League at the moment. We'll see how it all pans out. Spurs did lose to life. Like the other day, like let's see how the various other, European representatives get on. It may well be that it's not the strongest league of all time, but that still doesn't take away from what Liverpool are doing.
We're talking about Philip Coutinho there. When you talk about Liverpool's business, like he was bought for 8.5 million from Inter. We'll speak about this in the next hour. 53106, the best transfers that have ever been made in football, because just regarding players that would make an influence, or even like the players getting the dream move of their life. Martin Braithwaite signing for Barcelona as cover. He's going to wear Messi's old number 19 jersey. A 300 million buyout clause, which is, I found interesting. Probably there was some legal issue there. Lagana's for 18 million. Remember Henrik Larsson going to Barcelona, making an impact in the Champions League final. But the best transfers in the history of football, Seamus Coleman comes to mind for 60 grand. Cantona,
Dennis Irwin, Oldham, Manchester United.
Roy Keane to Forest.
Yeah, 53106. We'll talk about this with Damien in the next hour. We have half times coming in from the Premier League. Burnley against Bournemouth. Adam Drury.
No goals at half-time, but Bournemouth will feel hard done by not to have taken the lead as Josh King looks to have scored a legitimate goal in the 21st minute, but VAR ruled it out for a handball by Philip Billing in the build-up. The decision was dubious, replay suggesting the ball deflected off his shoulder. There's been plenty of chances at either side, but this half has seen a goalkeeping masterclass from Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale, the two English keepers pulling out some outrageous saves to keep the score level. Half-time at Turf Moor, it's Burnley 0, Bournemouth 0.
Goal for Enda Stevens in the game between Sheffield United and Brighton, where it's half-time now with Shane Pennington.
It's Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1, all square here then at the break. It was Sheffield United who took the lead on 26. Norwood's cross headed to Enda Stevens on the edge of the box, and he produced a stunning drive high into the top corner to give Matt Ryan no chance whatsoever. But Brighton responded immediately just 4 minutes later when Neil Maupay had the ball in the back of the net for them. Again, it came from a set piece. Aaron Moy with a free kick, flicked on by Lewis Dunk in the area, and Maupay just beaten Dean Henderson to the ball to flick it beyond him into the back of the net. Billy Sharp's seen a volley go inches wide for the home side, whilst Basuma's weak 20-yard effort has forced an easy save from Dean Henderson. All to play for in the second half here then. It's Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1.
And also an Irish scorer down at St Mary's. Southampton against Aston Villa. Alan Lewis.
Southampton 1, Aston Villa 0, but it should be a lot more for Southampton. Shane Long giving the home side the lead after 8 minutes, but they could have had 3 or 4 more. Smallbones' deflected shot hit the post. Danny Ings was denied by a good save from Pepe Reina, and Gineppo has missed 2 golden opportunities, both from inside the box. Samata has had a goal correctly ruled out for offside at the other end, but Villa have offered very little going forward. Half-time, Southampton 1, Aston Villa 0.
And it's Eagles against Magpies at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace, Newcastle, and Andrew Cheel, half-time.
Palace 1, Newcastle 0. Palace ahead on the stroke of half-time. A wonderful curling free kick from fullback Patrick van Aanholt with his left foot into the far corner. But for 2 fabulous saves from Dubravka in the Newcastle goal, Palace would have been ahead earlier. Both chances came from corners, both headers. Cahill and Dan both denied by a flying one-handed goalkeeper, tipping the ball over the bar. Newcastle's only real effort, Joe Linton's 20-yard right footer, tipped over full stretch by Goita in the Palace goal. But Van Aanholt's goal on the half-time makes it Palace 1, Newcastle 0.
Now in the Championship we got half-times as well, and it was a full-time from earlier on. Brentford 2, Blackburn Rovers 2, half-time Barnsley 0, Middlesbrough 0, half-time Birmingham City 2, Sheffield Wednesday 2, half-time Bristol City 0, West Bromwich Albion 2, the leaders West Brom ahead. Callum Robinson on the mark there. It's Charlton 1, Luton Town 1, Leeds 0, Reading 0, Nottingham Forest 0, QPR 0, Preston 0, Hull City 1, Stoke City 1, Cardiff City 0, Swansea City 1, Huddersfield Town 0, and Wigan 0, Millwall 0. Earlier on in the Premier League today, Chelsea beat Spurs by 2-1. Leicester against Manchester City from half-5. Scotland leading Italy 10 points to 0 in the Six Nations. Off the ball Saturday on News Talk 53106 for your texts. The best transfers of all time. Give us your views on that, and Liverpool's chances against Atletico. Bit of doubt here that they're going to do it in that second leg. Back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Join that conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Quality, performance and reliability. Volkswagen commercial vehicles are vans that deliver, and until February 29th they have offers to match. Upgrade bonuses of up to €4,000 across the range. Test drive a new Volkswagen commercial vehicle at your local dealer or visit volkswagenvans.ie and we'll come to you. T's and C's apply.
In this week's Sunday Times, we preview the Six Nations clash between Ireland and England. Peter O'Reilly, Stuart Barnes and Shane Horgan on where the match be won and lost. And David Watt asks if Johnny Sexton is still the perfect 10. Pick up your copy of the Sunday Times or subscribe for €5 a month at thetimes.ie/join.
Love the skin you're in. At the Laser and Skin Clinics, our team is here to help. Call now to book your free skin consultation at any of our Laser and Skin Clinics in Dublin, Mullingar and Athlone. Book before February 28th and get 25% off injectable treatments. I'm coming out. I want the ones in... T's and C's apply. Visit laserandskin.ie. Love your skin.
Come, get carried away with life at Corteo by Cirque du Soleil. An extravagant spectacle featuring astonishing acrobatics. 3 Arena Dublin from the 8th of July. Due to phenomenal demand, an extra week added from July 14th. Cirque du Soleil. Magnifico. Tickets from $45.20 on sale now. Additional charges may apply. Corteo thanks their official partners, Skoda Auto and Air Canada.
Limerick, gateway to the wild Atlantic Way.
And home to Europe's finest hotel.
A university with a cool robot librarian.
And an art school where tomorrow's fashion stars will wrap you in outrageous creations.
A short hop from Shannon Airport, calling at major US destinations.
Or stay put with an Irish coffee in the county that invented it.
Limerick, Atlantic Edge.
European embrace.
Discover your Limerick at limerick.ie.
Get 15% off all Keta outdoor storage at Homebase. Hurry, this mega deal must end 23rd of Feb. Homebase, feels good to be home. Terms at homebase.co.uk.
Eamon, thanks for coming in. Look, this is never easy, but we're letting you go. There are reports you left the bathroom light on, your desk light on over lunch, and you stayed late every day last week. That's way too much electricity.
Don't go overboard to bring down your business's energy bills. Talk to Energia today about our energy efficiency upgrades and fully funded lighting solutions. Our range of grants and finance options could mean big savings for your business. Go to energia.ie/business to find out more. Energia, the power behind your savings. Terms and conditions apply.
At Centra, we have great offers in store, like Nutella 400 gram, only €2. Kenco Instant Smooth or Rich Coffee 100 gram, half price now $2.47 each. And our mega deal until Sunday, Centra whole chicken 1.9 kilo, half price now €3.50. Centra, live every day.
Shake things up this Pancake Tuesday with Odlums. Try our delicious new lemon and maple flavoured pancake mixes. Odlums, behind every bake since 1845.
Get everyone ready for a mid-term field trip to Kildare Village. Kildare Village, everyone? Yep, we've got mid-term covered for the kids with children's interactive workshops all weekend, including Lego Technics, science and drumming workshops. And your field trip includes exploring 100 of your favourite boutiques, as well as those enticing restaurants and cafes. It's going to be the best mid-term ever. Discover the perfect day out at Kildare Village. See kildarevillage.com for details.
Tenerte como socio sería fantástico para nuestro equipo.
Tim has now been video calling on his mobile with his potential new business partners in Madrid for 45 minutes and 37 seconds. Luckily, time on his phone isn't a concern for Tim. With Three's €20 SIM-only business plan, he gets all calls, all texts, and all you can eat data. So he can just keep nodding while he Google translates what on earth they're saying. Switch today at your local Three store or visit 3.ie/business. 3. Make it count. €20 a month for the first 6 months, €30 a month thereafter. 30-day minimum term. Fair usage allowance applies to data used in the EU. See 3.ie.
Big brand sale now on at Curry's PC World. We've unmissable deals on kitchen appliances from Grundig, Beko and Bosch. Save €120 on a Grundig fridge freezer, now only $369.99. Exclusive to Curry's PC World. Big savings on TVs from Sony, Samsung and LG, like the 4K Sony Bravia 55-inch, now only $699. And the latest in laptops, like the HP Stream for only $199.99. We won't be beaten on price, so get in store or online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply.
On 106 to 108 FM, on newstalk.com, on smart speaker and on the Newstalk app. This is Newstalk.
Good afternoon.
The Garda Representative Association says it's lucky a member of the force wasn't killed after shots were fired at them in County Donegal last night. At around midnight, Gardaí responded to reports of a man with a rifle on Mill Road in Glenties, and after a brief standoff, shots were fired, damaging a patrol car. The man in his 20s was arrested and a rifle, hunting knife and ammunition were seized. Here's GRA spokesperson Brendan O'Connor.
I don't think the word lucky really comes into the equation when we're talking about this, but who are relieved to be at home safe and well with their families, haven't been having their lives been placed under threat last night as they carried out their duties.
2 Irish citizens are among 30 passengers from a coronavirus-hit cruise ship to have landed at a UK military base. They'll spend the next 2 weeks in quarantine at a specialist facility near Liverpool after being evacuated from the Diamond Princess in Japan. Meanwhile, anyone who's travelled to or passed through 9 Asian countries, including China or Japan, are being asked not to donate blood for 4 weeks. Ellen McSweeney is with the Irish Blood Transfusion Service.
There's a risk of coronavirus, then we actually ask that they do not come to our clinic if it's within 28 days of returning from that area.
Michael O'Leary's comments about Muslims have been described as irresponsible. The Ryanair boss has claimed terrorists will generally be males of a Muslim persuasion. Sheikh Dr. Umar Al-Qadri from the Islamic Centre of Ireland says it's wrong to say extremism is confined to just one community.
Just recently, a few days ago, a white German person killed people of various different backgrounds in 2 shisha bars in Germany. That was also a terrorist attack. But to generalise one particular community and tarnish the whole community with the same brush, I think is very irresponsible.
The Social Democrats will not be joining a government coalition with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. The party co-leader Catherine Murphy says there are critical issues that need to be addressed, and they won't be if there's more of the same in government.
We're just working on the issues and we're not ruling anything out after that. But the one thing we are ruling out is more of the same, and that means the Fianna Fáil Fine Gael combination.
And Prince Harry and Meghan Markle say Queen Elizabeth doesn't own the word royal, but they've agreed to stop using it for branding. The British royal family has been embroiled in a row since they said they'd be taking a break from officially representing the Queen. That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. For great value van insurance, go to the AA.ie.
Wet and windy with scattered blustery showers throughout the country. Some of them will be heavy with a risk of hail or thunder, with sleet possible in the north of the country. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees, but warmer on the south coast. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
And you're very welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5 o'clock in the company of the former Republic of Ireland and Crystal Palace defender Damien Delaney, Irish independent football correspondent Daniel McDonnell and broadcaster and writer Johnny Ward. Remember, our football coverage brought to you thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. You can text us on 53106. We're also streaming live as well. Get in touch with us on the Off the Ball social channels, at Off the Ball on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can also listen on the Go Loud app. Pepsi Max now a proud partner of the UEFA Champions League, and on the 29th of February, Off the Ball will have Stilian Petrov, Jason McAteer, Brian Kerr, Stephanie Roach and David Myler all in attendance with the Champions League trophy at the Viva Stadium for the latest Off the Ball roadshow in association with Pepsi Max. Join us on the night as we chat through the guests' careers as well as Champions League memories from both past and present. Head over to offtheball.com/events for ticket information. Should be a great night with such special guests there. Maximum taste, no sugar. Hashtag for the love of it. 53106. Martin Braithwaite's transfer kind of piqued my interest, given he was a former Middlesbrough player who scored for Denmark against the Republic of Ireland back in November as he consigned us to this match in Slovakia and possibly Belfast or Bosnia next month. So we're asking people for maybe the best transfer of all time, the best bargain transfer in football, and we're getting some great texts here on 53106. Mark Hughes to Chelsea, Gianfranco Zola to Chelsea, Eric Cantona to Man United.
Yeah, the Cantona one. Like, in fairness to Fergie, he bought Dennis Irwin for, what was it, 600 grand or something?
That's right.
He paid 3.6 million, was it, for Roy Keane, which was outrageous value as it turned out. He's one of the best players probably.
That was a Premier League record at the time, but that's the equivalent of whatever now. And multiply it by whatever.
It still worked out to be brilliant value. The Cantona one is the obvious one. There's a 1.1 million. And he, Cantona was obviously one of the most important players, but in fairness to Fergie, he got some wrong, but he got some amazingly good signs.
Michael, 500 grand from Bamboo, and keepers are so important.
Interestingly enough, that Carragher said even the other night that he reckoned he was the best goal.
Just longevity, I think, is very important to this kind of thing. Like Cantona, as you said, I think in a previous show, Johnny didn't cut it in the Champions League.
Cantona was grossly overrated as a player to my mind, but
come on,
he didn't do it in Europe at all. He was a flat track bully. Did in the Premier League. Did in the Premier League when the Premier League wasn't a particularly good standard, when English teams weren't doing particularly well in Europe. Cantona, as much because there was a massive hype about the Premier League when Cantona was playing. It was the early days, but he was overrated.
Damien, you're laughing at that.
I can't help but I don't even know what to say to that, Johnny. That's a bit mad, that.
Cantona wasn't overrated.
No, listen, he transformed that football club. He gave him the Manchester United. He was a missing link for them to get them over the line for the first Premier League title. And
what did he do in Europe, and what did he do for France?
Yeah, but in fairness, Manchester United did nothing in Europe until 1999. They got beat off several teams. If I remember correctly, he didn't even play for France because he fell out with nearly everybody in France.
Didn't play for France after 94.
He fell out with Julia, was it?
No. The reason he didn't play for France is because of the ban for the kick at Selhurst Park. And then, by the time he came back, Jacquet was in, and Jacquet decided, you know what, I'm not. I don't fancy you. You don't really fit my. Like the Houllier style was, it was Ginola, it was Cantona, where the Jacquet style was a bit more functional.
No, Cantona was a fantastic player, but look at his forms against good teams in Europe. He was basically lost. He was.
The whole Man United team was lost in Europe because they were Man United in the early 90s with a straight 4-4-2, kind of put them under pressure type, high tempo football, and in Europe they got found out.
Roy Keane wasn't lost.
But also
until the late 1999, because what Manchester United didn't get out of the group stages at certain points in the mid 90s.
There was also the three foreigners rule as well. I mean,
that's right. Somebody's texted in about that on 5316.
Gary Walsh played away to Barcelona because they couldn't pick Schmeichel.
That's right.
So, that was a slight complication that Manchester United team faced.
We're asking about transfers, given the unusual transfer of Martin Braithwaite to Barcelona this week. By the way, he's on the bench today. Messi scored a hat-trick, as he does, on a Saturday afternoon. Frank Lampard, 11 million to Chelsea, 20 goals per season for midfield. Brilliant regards from Peter. Thank you, Peter. Best transfers, Addy Robertson, James Milner and Gary McAllister for Liverpool. That's from Brian in Waterford.
Robertson, yeah.
Anelka to Arsenal, 500 grand, and Conte to Leicester. From Cannes, Cesar Azpilicueta, I would kind of agree with this, one of the best bargains in Premiership history, 7 million for a player who's been a mainstay in the Chelsea defence for close to 10 years, 2 Premier League titles and twice named in the team of the season. Henrik Larsson from Feyenoord to Celtic, best signing of all time, John, is Kenny Dalglish for 440 grand. He's still at Anfield after 43 years. What a player. And for the best value transfers in history, hard to look behind Vidic for 7 million, or Company for 6 million.
Well, is Haaland now the most... Is he potentially the most valuable footballer in the world?
Not yet.
It'd be him or Mbappe, because Messi's too old and Ronaldo's obviously too old. Mbappe. Because of his age and the potential for the pace he has, the potential for what he could reach, he must be worth easily 200 million.
Haaland?
Absolutely. Because of his goal scoring record already and his age and his pace.
For just one season, for 20 to 200?
If Barca or Real could afford him now, what would he go for?
I don't even. The problem you have now with the elite players is that their market value is almost irrelevant. In the sense that people will pay what it takes, and there'll be mad sort of clauses and various deals attached to it. So
the money his agent would get would be more than nearly every other world transfer.
You could put any figure on it, really. It's impossible to almost estimate.
It's a good one. Who is the most expensive footballer in the world?
I think Mbappe, personally. He's done it at a World Cup.
Probably Mbappe. Yeah.
Mbappe and then Haaland, I would say.
Let's see. Sometimes the value of the transfer is the value of your contract as well, and what you're on and what your deal would be. Mbappe's on that massive deal at PSG now, so to remove him from that, the deal would be a record. The Seamus Coleman transfer, I mean,
60 grand,
value, 60 grand. I mean, it's a affectionate terrorist chant, which is a reminder of the inherent dysfunction of football in Ireland, that you let someone go that cheap. I know Sligo would say they had clauses attached, I think, that eventually brought up the bottom line, but when you think that that would be half a week's wages for some moderate players now, and yet clubs from England will still skimp and row and
bring league race and trial.
Fuss over 10 grand or 15 grand here or there for an actual player, when occasionally you do get the absolute diamond like that really works out.
I think the most interesting thing about the Haaland situation of him going to Dortmund is what types of clauses are in there for the agents, because they only got him for 20 million, and you can only imagine what went on behind the scenes.
Definitely,
especially with his agents.
The assurances that they've been given that if he does well and the agent wants to shift him, Dortmund literally will have no say whether he can go or not. I'm pretty sure there'll be kind of agreements done in darkened rooms where they're using Dortmund as a stepping stone. And for 20 million euros, Dortmund are quite happy to let the agent and Haaland do that.
What percentage of the fee will the club actually get?
Yeah,
as well.
Damien, I'm just really interested in this. Will you move between clubs? So from Hull to QPR, from QPR to Ipswich, from Ipswich to Crystal Palace. What is the process like of transferring to football club? Is it done through agents? Do you sussing out the area? Are you speaking to players at the club? How does it all work?
Well, obviously in football, it's illegal for a club to call a player. You have to go through the proper channels. You have to phone the player's club and get permission and then speak to the player. But of course it doesn't happen like that, that's what agents are there for. They're there for to keep channels open between players and clubs. So sometimes you'll just get a phone call and say, do you want to go here? And if you say yeah, then the club will pursue and phone up the club and try and come to an arrangement and something like that. Or would you be interested in, so let's say for argument's sake, when I was going to Hull to QPR, I just got a phone call saying, would you be interested in going to QPR? And I said yes. And then all of a sudden, within a couple of hours, things started happening, and I was just sitting in a coffee shop and then got a phone call saying the deal's been done. Get yourself to London.
On QPR, I think Les Ferdinand was he at one of the League of Ireland games last night? Yeah. Don't know if there's on to that,
it's funny, I like that Damien alludes to that. Sometimes in football and covering football, everyone engages in this big charade about what actually happens and what's reality. And I always laugh when there's this fuss made about someone, a player being tapped up and what does this mean, as though this is the only industry in the world where people don't just have discussions and talk and have a chat about it. I think even Stephen Gerrard touched on it in one of his books that frequently, Brendan Rodgers would say to him, if Liverpool had a target that they wanted, that Gerrard would send him a text or and of course that happens. It happens in every walk of life. But in football we pretend that actually there's this routine and this thing of you have to wait the last 6 months of his contract they can talk to new people. All this absolute garbage. But we all go along with it to a degree because or when it suits a club, they'll pretend that, this club has behaved disgracefully in this pursuit when they've done exactly the same thing all the time.
I've had my napkin 360 moment because when Florentino Perez approached Zinedine Zidane at some award ceremony, he wrote him on a napkin, would you like to play for Real Madrid, when he was at Juventus at the time, and Zidane wrote back yes. Now, I didn't plan to connect the Glenn Hoddle napkin and the Zinedine Zidane napkin.
It was an obvious nexus, John.
Zidane said, I will, but only if you pass me on a serviette.
Yes.
As an offer. But Damien, this is one of those things though, isn't it, that to pretend that these chats don't happen all the time is just... It's rubbish, really, isn't it?
Can I tell you as well that football clubs use agents as much as players use agents, because I guarantee you, come the end of the season, if a club needs to have a clear out, they'll put 6 names on the list and they'll distribute that to agents and say, we'll give you X amount of money for every one of these you can shift. So independent agents who don't even represent the player have a mandate to go and ring around every club in England and say, do you want this player, this player, this player? So sometimes you will get calls from agents that aren't even yours, and you're going... And then straight away what's actually after happening, because sometimes you would get a phone call from an agent saying, I might be able to move you. And you're like, I'm sorry, who you don't represent me. And it's like, yeah, but I think I can get you moved to so-and-so. But because he had the mandate and he's already made the phone call to the buying club, he's put the deal in place. So that's how they then insert themselves into deals that are absolutely nothing to do with them. So to say that agents are, they do have their role and their uses, but players and clubs use them alike.
Yeah, and that's fascinating. That's so true. And then you see agents who are very much affiliated with particular clubs and particular managers, and the questions that raises, because then you'll have also players being put under real pressure to sign for a particular agent, because that your future will get tied up in that. And
that's one thing I can't get my head around.
Agents working for clubs, and I spoke to an agent at one point who basically said to me that a lot of their business now is that type of getting players out of a club as opposed to representing
your player,
a particular player.
We've got a goal in the game between Burnley and Bournemouth with Adam Jury.
Burnley 1, Bournemouth 0, and Mate Vidra has given the hosts the lead. He burst through down the left-hand side of the pitch into the box, chopped once he reached the 6-yard area to wrong foot the sliding defender Francis, and he buried the ball into the roof of the net. It's Burnley 1, Bournemouth 0.
And an update on the match between Crystal Palace and Newcastle from Andrew Teal.
Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle 0. Palace still leading from Patrick Van Aanholt's first half free kick. Since the break, much the same in the attacking sense. Ayew's poked an angled shot wide of the post from about 10 yards for Palace. Cahill left cursing himself, climbed well to the far post but put his header into the side netting. Benteke has put a curling shot, but that was comfortable for the goalkeeper. As for Newcastle, no change, no real threat. Palace 1, Newcastle 0.
We told you this on Friday Night Racing. If you were listening on News Talk last night, Acapella Bourgeois to win the Bobby Joe Chase. He has at 15 to 8 rather. Willie Mullins. So it's 2 winners we've given you today. And Scotland have won 17-0 in the Six Nations in Rome. And we've got an update now from the Sheffield United game from Shane Pennington.
It's Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1 here, but Graham Potter will be disappointed his side aren't in front here because they've missed a great opportunity here in the second half, which they should have gone 2-1 in front. There was a ball in from Aaron Moy. The corner wasn't cleared initially by the Sheffield United defence, and it fell nicely to Lewis Dunk 6 yards out on the half volley, and he smashed it high, wide and over the bar when he really should have put it in the back of the net. Sheffield United have been forced into a substitution. Ben Osborne's come on for the goal scorer, Ender Stevens at half-time. That must be an injury, and John Flex had their best opportunity of the second half, firing well wide from 20 yards out. It's Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1.
They're such a likeable team, John. I was just looking there, like Fleck. I saw him playing for Coventry City when they were like in the third tier not that long ago. You look at where Enda Stevens has come from. They're real, just great commitment. They're really dominating this game, but just can't quite put Brighton away at the moment.
Yeah, could do it. Enda Stevens going off at half time.
Find out what that is.
Yeah, that's. I mean, we actually didn't really discuss the quality of a strike. It was a great goal as well. But you know, where are we now? Sort of February, 22nd territory. You know, you're getting to that stage where small injuries become big ones for Ireland. So yeah, hopefully it's just a precautionary thing.
Who's left back if he's not playing?
Well, do you go with Matt Doherty at left back as you do in Georgia, and that's your way of getting Doherty and Coleman in the same team? Beyond that, he prefers Derek Williams to Ryan Manning. Ryan Manning's just got himself back into the QPR team, but Williams is probably preferred. But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Doherty in that scenario. But hopefully it doesn't come to that scenario. You know, that's a worry. But I mean, let's just wait and see what it is first.
A calf injury, according to local sources on the ground in Sheffield. Text here on 53106 about transfers. Best transfers of all time. I always thought Cristiano Ronaldo going to United from Sporting Lisbon was a good transfer for 12 million. Good man Johnny Ward. I've always said Cantona was the big man for the small occasion. That's from John in Waterford. Johnny Evans to Leicester, 3.5 million. Yes, I'm actually a Foxes supporter. Aaron in Greystones. Good man Aaron. It's easy to focus on the Premier League, but the best transfer of all time, Javier Zanetti to Inter Milan. They got him for peanuts. He basically played every game for 20 years. Ollie in Sligo. And at Danny Darcy 72 on Twitter. You can also tweet us at Off the Ball. Anelka signed for Arsenal on this day back in 1997 for 300 grand. Sold him 18 months later for nearly 24 million to Real Madrid.
Just on Cantona, obviously, he did score like big goals in the Premier League. He scored in that famous cup final against Liverpool.
You said that was the most down you ever were after a game until you discovered the League of Ireland, pretty much.
That was true, but at that time, like even that Liverpool team,
is a residual hurt that actually lingers, and you
actually
that goal. You have a childhood hatred of Cantona that has coloured your opinion.
But I hated Man United. Like I absolutely hated
your
hated Ince, hated Hughes, hated Roy Keane, hated Alex Ferguson, hated them all. Even hated Roy Keane, even though he was Irish. But that was me growing up as a kid. It was you were either Liverpool or Man United.
You were an emotional teenager.
Weren't we all, Dan? Well, yeah, I mean,
yours was particularly.
Seen some of your early internet offerings.
Other transfers, like Coutinho, I thought was always a great one. 8.5 million to Liverpool from Inter, sold him for over 140. Dele Alli to Spurs from MK Donzo, maybe not now. 5 million.
That's still a good deal, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm just moaning. Jamie Vardy, $1 million from Fleetwood to Leicester, and we got a goal. Burnley against Bournemouth. Adam Jury.
Burnley 2, Bournemouth 0, and Jay Rodriguez has scored from a penalty, but it's the strangest goal you're going to see because Bournemouth had scored a minute earlier through Harry Wilson. They thought they'd equalised. The referee pulled the action back for a VAR decision, ruled out the goal and ruled a handball 15 seconds earlier from Adam Smith, gave Burnley a penalty, and Jay Rodriguez scored from it. So it's not level, it's Burnley 2, Bournemouth 0.
Is that honestly what we want?
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, that's just a double whammy. I mean,
no, we're not going back there again. We've moved on to transfer. Actually, I'd say that Bournemouth team, Harry Arter, I think, joined Bournemouth from Woking, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely from, a lot of those players that he has signed was on their climb up the ladder. So they'd be the less obvious ones. They're not your sort of marquee names, but in terms of value for money, there's some of the deals that Bournemouth and even Burnley back in the day, like Danny Ings and certain players who've actually burst onto the scene, through sort of low. Even Martin O'Neill's Leicester, he picked up some players, brought them to the Premier League from the lower league.
Yeah, O'Neill from his Wickham days was really, really good.
Matty Elliott and people like this.
He is it and lads like that.
What about Liverpool signing, they signed from Oxford, was it Ray Houghton and
John Aldridge?
Yeah. Mark Lawrenson back in the day would have been a shot in the dark deal at the time.
He came from Brighton. I think he was well touted at Brighton.
Or maybe it was prior to joining Brighton, or certainly like Steve Highway. Go back and all the way to the time did he sign for Liverpool from? I think he signed for Liverpool from non-league football, but he had a college degree. Steve Highway.
Isn't it mad now that'll never, like, those days are gone now, that the chances of pulling someone out in non-league football, the only one I can think of recently is Andre Gray at Watford. Like, it doesn't really happen anymore, does it? Like the 300 grand player and then straight into the Premier League. And
Vardy's the closest.
No, like the ones that they had to go at a lower level, like Scott Hogan and Vardy, they climbed the level. Like Ian Wright, even back in the day, was plucked out of non-league football.
But even in the Stevens story is remarkable. Like when he was at Shamrock Rovers, like he was a very good fullback, but nobody I think would have predicted that he's like.
But he joined Aston Villa on a good deal, and just wasn't
had to go back the way.
Wasn't ready for it.
But like Stevens must be one of the best fullbacks in England at the moment. I mean, his performance has been consistent. He's scoring goals, very good for his country. To come from where he has, it's an incredible story.
We need to take a break, folks. 53106. The best transfers of all time. Tony Galvin from Gould Town. Not. Okay, back in the moment.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Lunchtime Live.
We're making a flipping difference this Pancake Tuesday. Focus Ireland have teamed up with venues across the country to raise funds and help combat homelessness. You can drop in, grab a yummy fresh pancake and make a donation to the cause too. And Lunchtime Live is doing its part by broadcasting live from House on Leeson Street in Dublin with some great guests and, of course, tons of pancakes. So pop by and help make a difference with Focus Ireland. Or find your nearest venue at newstalk.com/pancakes.
Lunchtime Live with Ciara Kelly.
With The Matter Private.
Live from House this Pancake Tuesday from midday.
On News Talk.
It's raining outside and everyone's in, but you don't have to compete for your broadband. Switch to Sky Broadband now and come home to ultra-fast speeds of 1 gigabit and our best ever Wi-Fi. So the only competition will be from the online gamers. Offer ends Thursday. Search Sky Broadband and switch to our best ever broadband now from just €35 a month for 12 months. Availability subject to location. Set up fees, terms and conditions apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
The Heritage. The perfect location for your next conference or event. Situated between Kildare Village, the Curragh and Portlaoise, it's easily accessible from just about everywhere. Less than an hour from Dublin, just off the M7 motorway at Junction 15. Make an inquiry today and learn about our exciting recent refurbishment. The Heritage, your own kind of perfect. Discover more at theheritage.com.
This is Finny Aylon. She's got the right kind of energy for business.
I run Millish Bakery here in Bundoran. It's been hard work, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Finn knows what it takes to make her business a success.
We're baking great food for brilliant people in a sustainable way.
And she has a vision for the future.
Our cakes are baked using 100% green electricity from SSE Electricity, which makes them taste all the sweeter.
Switch to the right kind of energy for business today at sseelectricity.com. SSE Electricity. This is Generation Green.
What makes a murderer? In this week's Sunday Independent, Niamh Horan goes behind bars to speak to a gangland killer. As the political class grapple for power, just how long can we wait for a government? And who will lead? In Life, broadcaster Claire McKenna explores modern fitness and wellness and gives herself 6 months to change her life. Plus, Gail Killalay tells Barry Egan's diary about rumours, Charvet shirts, and whether there's life after litigation. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
Home sweet home. Maybe it's in the middle of town or the middle of nowhere, or maybe you haven't found your home just yet. That's why our Bank of Ireland mortgage specialists cover the length and breadth of Ireland to meet you at a time that suits you best. Meet us in branch, in a coffee shop, or even in the little slice of country you call home to chat about your personal mortgage plans. Anywhere, anytime. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Lending criteria and terms and conditions apply. Security and insurance required. Over 18s only. Bank of Ireland Mortgage Bank, trading as Bank of Ireland Mortgages, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Ireland.
You can't manage at home anymore. It's time you move somewhere safe.
I'll talk to the doctor for you from now on.
It's your wishes that matter, not theirs. Make your wishes known about where you would like to be cared for and your healthcare preferences. Plan ahead. Turn your wishes into plans. Talk with someone you trust and document your decisions. And safeguard yourself from abuse. SafeguardingIreland.org. Promoting the rights of vulnerable adults.
At Centra, we have great offers in store, like Nutella 400 gram, only €2. Kenko Instant Smooth or Rich Coffee 100 gram, half price now $2.47 each. And our mega deal until Sunday, Centra whole chicken 1.9 kilo, half price now €3.50. Centra, live every day.
Bring the day. Bring the new home.
Congratulations, the house is yours.
Bring new life. Bring new beginnings.
Enjoy college. Call us.
Bring the new year. Whatever change life brings, embrace it with a new Volkswagen. Discover unmissable offers and low-rate finance across the Volkswagen range. Search Volkswagen 201 and bring the change. Terms and conditions apply.
Look, we need to have a chat, neighbour to neighbour. This is for laughing at how we say 33. And you can't even say Siobhan. For ruining words like banter. For it's coming home. For chain pubs and the state of the pints you serve. And for not caring as much about Ireland versus England as we do. But every year we get one chance. Our horses winning big on your turf. This March, Cheltenham's coming home.
Paddy Power, proud supporters of the Irish Cheltenham Takeover. Over 18s, please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Some things just go better together, like dinner and a movie. At Liffey Valley, this couldn't be truer. Treat the family to a meal with more than 20 mouth-watering restaurants, including Nando's, Eddie Rockets and Zizzi's. Then see a movie in our state-of-the-art 14-screen cinema, and it's the perfect combination for a family day out. Liffey Valley. Shop, eat, drink, experience.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
And you're very welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk with John Duggan until 5 o'clock in the company. Delighted to be joined by the Republic of Ireland and Crystal Palace defender Damien Delaney, the Irish Independent football correspondent Daniel McDonnell, and the broadcaster and writer Johnny Ward. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. You can text us on 53106. We've been talking about value transfers, great transfers, weird transfers, bargain transfers with this Martin Braithwaite sensation during the week, the former Middlesbrough player going to Barcelona. We're streaming live as well. You can get in touch with us on the Off the Ball social channels, on Twitter at Off the Ball, on YouTube, on Facebook, and you can also listen on the Go Loud app.
I think you have a story, John, as well, have you? We do have
we're talking about the Grand National.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Acapella Bourgeois because he won by
the Bobby Joe chase today.
A huge margin. The Bobby Joe wouldn't necessarily be a bad trial. I make the point that I don't think he's going to be going to Aintree, but you had another point.
You've been to Aintree. I've never been to Aintree on a Grand National Saturday, but it appears one of us has.
Well, in 2002, I went to see Binderee win the Grand National, and it's funny because it was my first Cheltenham for Today FM, and I got sent to the Grand National, and Jim Cullity won the Gold Cup in the Grand National that year. I've never been back since, but Martell sponsored it at the time, and they got this beautiful commemorative. When you're a young lad and you get these kind of things, you think, oh my God, I'm going to keep this forever. This Martell design of a brandy, a little Nagata brandy.
Lovely.
With the design on the back of the year, the Grand National, whatever. My mother is a staunch teetotal, and that's fine, no problem at all.
Wow.
Had it for about 10 years. And then in the family home, I discovered the bottle one day, and I said, "Where's the bottle?" And the bottle was empty. And I said, "What did you do with the bottle?" And she said, "I put it in a cake."
Oh my God! I mean, that's why you shouldn't be teetotal. I mean, somebody who drank wouldn't have made that.
She's 81 now, so I think she's going to change her mind at this stage.
Mrs. Duggan.
No. Have a word.
53106 for your text messages. On transfer, Seamus Coleman to Everton from Sligo for pocket money, relatively. He's been priceless everywhere he plays. That's from David. Hi lads, what about David Batty from Newcastle back to his home club Leeds for $5 million? An absolutely brilliant player. That's from Mike. Solskjaer from Malta United for $1.5 million in 1996 from Louis in Galway. Lads, I'm older than any of you, so I can remember the real bargains. Archie Gemmell, Derby County, Notts Forest, one of the great all-time World Cup goals. I remember seeing that in Trainspotting. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, the best transfer of all time, Cyril Regis, God rest him, from Hayes to WEA, West Bromwich Albion for £5,000. A gentleman, a goal scorer and a pioneer. And Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool from Southampton, world champions, European champions, 22 points clear. Enough said.
Another pioneer. Bruce Rioch signing Bergkamp, my associate Chris texted in. He was a hell of a sign. Just on the Seamus Coleman thing, it was one thing that absolutely infuriated me when I was younger, and still does, that like the League of Ireland is so starved of money that the chance you can get to get some money from very, very wealthy British clubs, and it's happened so rarely. And when you do see, like Seamus Coleman was lauded by Everton, it disgusts me that an Irish club would get whatever it was, 50 or 60 grand for a player that would go on to do what he did.
Yeah, but the problem with it is, though, if you have a league with 42-week contracts or whatever it might be, that affects your ability to actually look for big money. And I think there should be...
Well, you need two clubs in for a player.
There's no, yeah,
you know what I mean?
And there's no doubt that, you know, a Scandinavian equivalent, you know, or even a lower league equivalent to Seamus Coleman would never go for that type of money. But there are mitigating factors. There are reasons why small amounts of money are paid to clubs here, unfortunately. Like, if you hear, you know, you talk about the process of scouting and transfers and players and how it all happens and so on. Like, you know, I know of examples where people come over to watch a player they really like here, and then they ask, well, what's the story with the opposition, and it's a part-time club or whatever, and that affects, that gives the club the power to you know, pay less amount of money for them, and that's just a fact. It's just funny, you think about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. Like, I was just thinking of other transfers that like maybe didn't. What about the Identica transfers that people go, right, Solskjaer, that worked. Do you remember this on Eric Nevland? They went to get another guy from Norway, didn't work out, and there's always a fad, or, you know, people assume that someone's going to be the next one of them. Like we had this years ago when Kevin Doyle went. Actually, Kevin Doyle, Reading to Cork City, was one that actually you should mention as a value deal as well, because they eventually sold him to Wolves for pretty good money. And they got Kevin Doyle and Shane Long and almost like a buy one get one free deal for I think around €125,000 or something like that. And when you consider the transfer fees that Doyle and Long subsequently generated, that'd probably be up there as a value deal as well.
David McGoldrick is strutting his stuff for Sheffield United at one end, and Aaron Connolly has come on for Brighton at the other, so it'll be an interesting 15 minutes. It'd be great to see Connolly get a goal, because he probably could do with it after obviously that Spurs game was such a great introduction. It's just been a little bit more tricky for him since.
The best value transfer in football history was Larry Tompkins from Kildare to Cork. Speaking to the former Cork miner Damien Delaney this afternoon. And lads, the best transfer has got to be Dennis Irwin from Oldham to Man United for £600,000. That's from a Liverpool fan, Stuart. Damien, did you remember Dennis Irwin growing up? Were you a huge fan of his technique, his game?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I remember when he used to take all the free kicks and corners and penalties at Man United. Could play left back, right back, and as everyone said, he was just so consistent. But you know, he's fantastic professional. Just kept quiet, got about his job, and won everything there is to win in the game. Really.
Cork City last night, a little bit of a tricky night for you.
Oh man, yeah. Like, you know what? If I'm being honest with you, I was at the Shells game on the week before, and I won't say I could see it coming to 6-0. I didn't, but I definitely saw a big score being run up in Cork City, because they're a new team. They've just been pieced together, and obviously Shells were a newly promoted team, and they really, they did struggle against Shells, if I'm being honest with you. So I knew that going up to Rover as a team that are as established as they are and as fluid as what they are, I knew there was definitely a risk that they could run up a score on them, you know. And unfortunately, they got to go to Dundalk on Monday night as well. So terrible weekend for them.
It's an interesting one. Sorry, Dan. It's an interesting one because I wasn't a big fan of Neil Fenn's move to Cork City in the circumstances of it happening in the middle of Longford's late promotion push. And strangely enough now, Cork definitely looked like relegation candidates or potential relegation candidates at this particular moment. And on the flip side, Longford Town going to their game tonight against Shamrock Rovers' second team, pushing for promotion, and Dara Doyle is probably full of beans, and Neil Finn has a serious job on, and he has a serious task on. He's playing a lot of young kids, one who got sent off for a disgraceful challenge last night, a lot of inexperience.
Well, they've brought in a lot of lads from outside the league as well, which is, I mean, that'd be a slight concern that bringing players into this league, and I did a piece on it during the week about how it all happens. Like, this is a sort of a unique league. You know, it's not unique. It's just, I mean, like, it's very, like, every league in every domestic country, there's players who know that league and know that scene very well and know how to play it and so on. And Neil Fenn has brought in a lot of players from outside the league. I think there was 7 maybe in that Shelbourne game. Damien could correct me, or certainly something like that. And if things aren't going against you, you feel like they have Garrod Morrissey, they have a couple of people there who know the score, but you feel like you'd want more of them because that is a big club, and if they suddenly find themselves losing in Dundalk on Monday, which is fairly likely,
I think
it's pretty much very likely, and then all of a sudden Damien knows it's going to be local pressure there. People aren't going to be hugely understanding of it. There's going to be like, well, what's actually happening?
How has it come to this? I mean, how has it come to this from a year ago where you're, just after finishing close up in the title race, 5 consistent years under Caulfield's? How could it come to this, Samo?
Well, listen, I mean, Neil Fenn's chosen to go down a route where he has brought in a lot of young players from the UK. A lot of lads who don't know the League of Ireland, don't know Ireland, have kind of come here to use it as a stepping stone, I presume. And the thing is, he's pot committed to this route now. And if it doesn't work out, I can't see how he's going to be able to change it because he won't have any budget, really. The only saving grace is I think all these deals that he's brought in are only until July the 1st. And I think they're all probably going to go back to where they came from in the UK or wherever. So, I mean, but by then it could be too late and he could be down. But look, it's early in the season and there's a lot of play.
It is early days. I saw them late last season against Shamrock Rovers and they were well beaten, but there was promise. But this funny thing is, Dan, you mentioned the Cork crowd. Like, away players love playing at Turner's Cross. They don't love playing at Finn Park. So, like, you've another thing there. Like, Turner's Cross isn't necessarily even an advantage for Cork now. It's a lovely place to play. Nobody really wants to play at Finn Park, and I think Harps are going to battle hard. Well, I also think Decky Devine, if Derry lose to Pats on Monday, which I think could well happen, they'll have 1 point from 3 games, and I think he might soon be under a little bit of pressure as well.
I'm not so sure about that, but the one thing I would say is that Cork play Finn Harps next Friday. I saw Finn Harps up in Derry last night, and Finn Harps have a identity. They were well organised. They sort of know what they are.
What do Cork have?
And this is the thing. If Cork lose on Monday again, you think it's quite likely. They're playing at home to Finn Harps next Friday, and it's early in the season to be talking about like a game being a pressure game. But you still
absolutely is.
And actually, at the moment, I know which team you'd imagine would have a more clear game plan for that. I imagine, and the problem Neil Fenn is going to face is that he left Longford, as you mentioned, to go into Cork and get settled and figure out what the story was there, figure out who he wants to keep, and actually. They've started the season in such a way that would raise questions about it.
What about the two we expect to be battling there for the title? Graham Burke scoring 5 times last night for Shamrock Rovers, and Dundalk beating Shelburne.
I'm a big fan of Graham Burke, but let's be honest, this was more like playing, in the Phoenix Park, some of the goals he scored. I mean, none of them were really. He 1 or 2 reasonable strikes, but Graham Burke was literally sauntering around the pitch, and that was the insipid opposition that he was facing. Dundalk were actually really pushed by Shelburne, more than I thought they would. By all accounts, they slightly got out of jail, were 2-0 up. Brilliant goal by Gary Duggan to make it 2-1. But, I mean, next Friday, if you haven't... if you're a Dubliner who doesn't go to League of Ireland games, I would strongly suggest taking this in. I think I was just saying to Dan there what the crowd will be like, but I think it's going to be a really, really compelling game so early in the season as well. And
I think next Friday. We talk about what you want a better league, and I mean the 2 games I've been at, or a couple of games I've had, the win has been a massive factor. I mean next Friday it's Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk, 2 very good squads, good teams, good pitch, great stadium, it's live on TV. If you want anything to aspire to, that needs to be a good game next week. Hopefully Johnny lives to it before coughing himself through there, but like next Friday is...
I wonder would it be called off, actually.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No, Tala will be fine.
No, as if I died.
Oh, no, I'd say a minute's...
Yeah, a minute's applause.
A minute of stringent, trident opinions. That actually be the
full... A minute's applause that's stretched to about 10.
No, I think it'd just be people making predictions for a minute.
It'll be a compelling...
What he would have wanted.
It will be a compelling game because, funnily enough... Dundalk haven't really gotten going yet, but this always happens. The only difference this season is they've actually won their first 2 games, but they haven't really played to their full potential. I think Rovers are in a very good place at the moment. It's going to be a cracker.
Just before we finish, Dan, this Drogheda United tweet about a People's League and a development team referring to Shamrock Rovers. Probably not the best thing to be doing.
Just nonsense. Like the First Division clubs, I understand their grievance at this Shamrock Rovers to this team being allowed into it, but it's a classic case of having a moral high ground and then losing it with sort of these sort of juvenile sort of tweets referring to them as the development team. Like.
What is their grievance, though, Dan?
Their grievance is Their grievance is related to, well, first of all, they feel that it undermines the integrity of the First Division to have a second team in it. Now, I would make the point that there's a lot more damaging things for the reputation of the First Division than a team actually, who will probably pay their players on time and have a functioning stadium. But that's neither here nor there. They do have an issue, I think, with the process for the consultation of the clubs about it. And I think there is something in that maybe they feel that there wasn't due process made. I think they get a sense that it could have been handled better in terms of how it was communicated. So that's a point to make. But if you're saying that this undermines the integrity of your league and we deserve to be treated seriously as clubs, to then respond to it with some absolute garbage juvenile stuff on social media this week, poorly made images, bizarre statements. It actually portrays they had the Longford Stadium wrong in this, name of the stadium wrong in this poster. It actually, to me, it's reinforced a negative stereotype of that division. So, yeah, I'm not happy with how it's all panned out, but I think they've got panned for it.
And producer Neil is saying here that no mention of the opposition on the programme cover for Longford tonight.
I saw that, yeah. I don't know if there's anything to be ready into that. Galway United issued a statement today, and I'm embarrassed by it, to be honest.
OK, updates now from the Premier League. Sheffield United against Brighton. Shane Pennington.
It's Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1 here as we enter the latter stages of this game. Both managers have gone for it, though, in a sense, with their substitutions. David McGoldrick and John Lundstrom have come on for Sheffield United as Ollie McBurney misses a great opportunity. A cross coming in from the left-hand side, and the big striker there was 12 yards out, had a free Potter goal, but unfortunately scuffed it, and it went well wide of the target. Whilst for Brighton, they've made attacking subs too. Connolly and Trossard have replaced Murray and Giotto. Both managers know this game is there to be won in the remaining 9 minutes or so. It remains Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1 here.
And we got an update now from Crystal Palace and Newcastle with Andrew Cheal.
Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle United 0. It remains. You wonder, though, the longer it stays at 1-0, the more nervous Palace might be getting. They know they really could and should have had it sewn up a long, long time ago, and it will only take one decent Newcastle effort to undo all the hard work that Palace have put in. The skillful Alan Saint-Maxime looks Newcastle's most likely source of inspiration, but at the moment it's still Van Aanholt's goal, which makes it Palace 1, Newcastle 0.
This is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk with John Duggan. 53106 for your text with the full times from the Premier League, Championship in Scotland to come. Don't go away.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen. with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
And you're very welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock in the company of Damien Delaney, Daniel McDonnell and Johnny Ward. Our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. You can text us on 53106. We got a goal between Burnley and Bournemouth from Adam Jury.
Burnley 3, Bournemouth 0, and Dwight McNeil has sealed this game as a contest. He picked the ball up just outside the penalty area, burst towards the edge of the box, cut inside onto his left and struck the ball hard to the right, low past Aaron Ramsdale into the back of the net to give Burnley all 3 points. It's Burnley 3, Bournemouth 0.
And a text into us here. The lad on Friday Night Racing has tipped up a 50-1 shot from the Kim Muir. Can't see a link to it on the website. What was it? This is the Kim Muir Chase at Cheltenham. The trainer is Brian McMahon, good banner man. He was on last night, gave us a winner already, song for someone today. The horse is his own, Shea Malek. Shea Malek, 50-1 for the Kim Muir.
So he's my hero, is it?
That's right, yeah. Exactly. Lovely story about his dad and all that. And Damien, just to look ahead to the week ahead, Champions League, Manchester City against Real. The siege mentality is there at City now. What's your verdict on that game?
I still think Manchester City are a centre-back short to do anything serious in the competition. They're struggling. I won't say they're struggling in the Premier League, but their form is a little bit inconsistent. And I think if you're any way inconsistent, you're going to get found out at this stage in Europe. And I think Real Madrid will have too much for Manchester City over both legs.
And Chelsea at home to Bayern Munich. Munich murdered Spurs earlier in the season. Would you give Chelsea any chance?
No, I think Bayern as well would be too strong for Chelsea. I think they're in a great run of form at the minute. Bayern, Lewandowski seems to be having another one of his fantastic seasons. And Chelsea just seem to be on the slide a little bit. I wouldn't read too much into Chelsea beating a poor or kind of hampered Tottenham team today, so I expect the both continental teams to win comfortably in both games.
It'll be interesting,
how many
John,
Premier League
teams will, like, because if Liverpool are obviously in some jeopardy, but I wouldn't fancy Chelsea at all.
Spurs are gone, Leipzig, not going to happen.
Spurs look in trouble, big trouble, obviously.
Yeah, no, I know.
They did it in Ajax.
I've written off the season.
It's not a huge odds. It's not huge odds that they'll all get knocked out.
Yeah, that's right. I was also looking at odds. 7-2, 4-1, Damien, for Manchester United to get in the top four. The way, I think Chelsea and Spurs are ordinary at the moment. Sheffield United missing a chance today if it stays the same. 1-1 at the moment against Brighton. Do you think Man United with Fernandes, the way he's impacted on the club, can sneak into the top four, or are they just too inconsistent at the moment?
No, I think they quite possibly could, because Chelsea seem to, as I said earlier, hit a brick wall, and they just seem to, which was always going to happen, and they didn't strengthen in January, and they needed to, just to keep up the pace that they had set, and they seem to be struggling a little bit, depending on what happens at Manchester City's ban. Obviously, fifth place could get in, but I still fancy Jose just to maybe get fifth, and Man United might sneak into fourth now. I think the Son injury has really hurt Tottenham. I think before that I thought Tottenham would get fourth, but it's going to be interesting. It's probably the most interesting part of the league right now, I think, is who's going to get Champions League.
Yeah, Raheem Sterling flashing his eyelashes a little bit at Real Madrid. He's been respectful, obviously, to Manchester City, but, respects Real, loves Real Madrid, loves the club. We're talking about transfers, Damien. The best transfer you ever saw as a value transfer, apart from your own?
Best value, God, I don't know, maybe put me on the spot there a little bit.
It's got to be Cantona, seen as though he was the best player that ever played.
No, but I think Cantona was more than just a footballer. I think now I understand your hatred of Manchester United when you said you literally hated everything about Man United growing up. So I wouldn't expect you to get the Cantona, but I think coming from Leeds, Man United's arch rival, or a very big rival at the time, for such a cheap fee. And he really did give the club the swagger and the impetus.
He was fantastic for the league. He was with the collar up and all that.
The ad. 1966 was a great year for English football. Eric was born.
That's right.
One of the best ever.
Is that Nike
ads.
Or?
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
Yeah, it's he was. I mean, granted, I more or less became a League of Ireland man, but at that time, as a kid, the Premier League was just so fascinating.
Here we go. This is it. It was about
yes.
Sky Sports.
I remember the early Alive and Kicking, Simple Minds Alive and Kicking. That was the old ad, like a close-up of guys in an old gym working very, very hard,
I'll still have very fond memories of just going out to my father's Jeep every Saturday to listen to Radio 5 Live. Obviously, Off the Ball wasn't around at the time.
And before Today FM, before Premier League Live.
Do you reckon anyone is sitting in their father's Jeep listening to you now?
Hundreds of thousands.
Probably not. But it was
watching you online.
It was the old thing as well. It was 693 and 909, and when 693 would go really hazy, coverage would go to 909 and then back again, and they were iconic Saturdays really when I was
you go to Atlantic 252 by accident
and listen to Jesse paints a picture about how it's going to be.
It's full time between Sheffield United and Brighton with Shane Pennington.
It finishes Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1. A big point for Graham Potter's side as they look to, of course, pull away from the relegation zone. They had to do it from behind too, because Sheffield United took the lead on 26. Norwood's cross headed out to Ender Stevens, who smashed it high into the top corner from 18 yards. But Brighton responded well. 4 minutes later, they were level. Neil Mopey headed home after Dan Burns had flicked on an Aaron Moy free kick. In the second half, both sides had chances. Lewis Dunk should have scored for Brighton, but fired over from close range, whilst McBurney and also Fleck were denied well by Brighton goalkeeper Matt Ryan. It ends in here at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United 1, Brighton 1.
And a full time from Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace and Newcastle with Andrew Cheal.
Palace 1, Newcastle 0. A well-merited victory for Palace. Van Arnold's sweetly struck free kick on the circle of half-time proved the winner. Before that, Newcastle keeper Dubravka made 2 wonder saves to keep out headers from Cahill and Dan. Palace had plenty of possession, plenty of shots, but on that possession, but really lacked decisiveness. They were grateful to keeper Garita for saves from Lascelles, Rose and Joe Linton, but overall Newcastle were pretty toothless, and Lazara's red card on 90 minutes just added to their woes. Palace 1, Newcastle 0.
Earlier on it ended Chelsea 2, Spurs 1 at Stamford Bridge. At half-5, Leicester hosting Manchester City at the King Power Stadium. Damien, just before we let you go, tomorrow Arsenal and Everton, how do you call that?
My head says Arsenal, but both teams seem to be on the rise with their managerial changes. Arteta and all the players seem to be talking about how fantastic the atmosphere is around Arsenal now since he's been in. I've seen lots of quotes from Arsenal players. And obviously Ancelotti's done a fantastic job at Everton, so it's going to be a good tie, so I'll probably go for a draw there, to be honest. Yeah.
And United and Watford?
I'm going to go for a draw there as well. I think Man United are just too hit and miss, and they were away in Europe, and they don't look like the type of team that can play in Europe on a Thursday night and then be at full tilt again on the Sunday. And I think they will need to be at full tilt to beat Watford, so I'll probably go for a draw there as well.
And Wolves against Norwich?
Wolves, handy enough.
Damien, thanks so much for today.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks,
cheers now.
Damien Delaney there. We got a full time between Burnley and Bournemouth with Adam Jury.
Some massive VAR decisions have really cost Bournemouth as Burnley beat them 3-0. King saw a first-half goal chalked off for a dubious handball from Billing. In the second half, Vidra gave Burnley the lead before the real moment of controversy happened 60 minutes in when Harry Wilson scored for Bournemouth, but VAR ruled Smith had handled the ball moments earlier in his own penalty area, cancelling the goal, giving Burnley a penalty that Rodriguez converted. McNeil scored the third to seal the win, but the VAR debate will rumble on. Full-time at Turf Moor, finished Burnley 3, Bournemouth 0.
And it is Wales 3, France 7 in the Six Nations in Cardiff. Anthony Bouthier with a try for France. Just to go through the championship scores, most of these matches are approaching full time. Earlier it ended Brentford 2, Blackburn Rovers 2, into stoppage time. Barnsley 1, Middlesbrough 0, stoppage time. Birmingham 3, Sheffield Wednesday 3.
Scott Hogan with the injury time goal, one of the informed Irish players at the moment.
And Bristol City 0, West Brom 3, the leaders West Brom, and they're going to be continuing to be top of the table. Full time Charlton 3, Luton 1, into stoppage time Leeds 1, Reading 0, good result for Leeds. Notts Forest 0, QPR 0, Preston 2, Hull 1.
Alan Brown.
Wow.
Off the bench for Shawnee Maguire, and he scored what sounds like a very good headed goal. So Preston into the playoffs as it stands, and looking, they might last the course this year.
Stoke 2, Cardiff 0, Swansea 3, Huddersfield Town 1, and Wigan 1, Millwall 0. Full time, the final one of the Premier League, 3 o'clock. Southampton and Aston Villa. Alan Lewis.
It's finished Southampton 2, Aston Villa 0, a much-needed home victory for Southampton. The performance more convincing than the scoreline in truth. Shane Long opened the scoring after just 8 minutes, bundling home Gineppo's cross from close range. Southampton had a hatful of chances to add to the lead before and after half-time. Pepe Reina denying efforts from Ings, Bertrand and Gineppo, and it wasn't until Stuart Armstrong with the last kick of the game scoring at the other end after a Villa corner. Pepe Reina just couldn't get back in time. Armstrong sliding the ball home, that the points were sealed. Villa offered very little going forward. A much needed win for the home team. It's finished Southampton 2, Aston Villa 0.
Are we going to do it tomorrow in the rugby, lads?
I'll defer to Johnny on this.
I think they've every chance, yeah. I think they've every chance. Worth a bet at 5-2. What little I know about it, but they're going in there in great mental shape, I think, whatever but England.
Johnny Ward and Daniel McDonnell, thanks so much for this afternoon. Great chat on the Football Show and Off the Ball. And we're back tomorrow from 1 until 7. The paper review with 2 live and exclusive commentary games following that from the Premier League. Stephen Doyle and Brian Kerr calling Manchester United's match against Watford from Old Trafford. That kicks off at 2 o'clock. Then it's over to North London for the meeting of Arsenal and Everton with Nathan Murphy and Gary Breen from 4:30. Be sure to tune in. Thanks for listening to us today. Bye-bye.